Hi there, this is Jeff White, Life and Living Now and Versatile Fighting Arts. I wanted to talk just a little bit about embracing self-improvements and personal growth. Great subject of mine. I think the idea of personal growth, evolution is very, very important. I think, we come into this life, in my mind, with a purpose of growing, and all of our life is about growing and evolving. And it should not stop when we become an adult. We should continue to learn, to grow, to evolve, to get to know who we are and understand who we are. And we'll talk more about that in some other videos as well. But when we look at embracing self-improvement for personal growth, then I think a lot of us, and especially those who are watching this video, you probably already believe in personal growth, because if you're coming to, say, my Life and Living Now channel, then more than likely most of the people who come on here are already committed in some form or fashion to personal growth. That's what drew you here. In my martial arts practice and on that channel and in those in that realm, that category, often people they come with the idea of personal safety, and they want to learn self-defense. The longer they stay with it, then the more they realize how much they are impacted by the process of learning a martial arts, that they begin to value their own personal growth, their own personal evolution. And I do believe we are all here as individuals and as society to evolve over time, to grow, become more expansive, and to become broader, deeper in our understanding and our reach. So, if we embrace this idea of self-improvement and personal growth, then one of the key things to look at is what hinders us. And it's just like we remove, say, weeds from our lawns and from our gardens in order to allow for plants and flowers to grow, then we also we need to rid our minds and our hearts of the things that will hinder our growth as well. And life is a continuous journey of becoming the best version of yourself. And that's a phrase that's been around now for a good while because it fits. You want to become the best version of yourself. And this requires positive actions. It requires, a mindset that is set on growth. It requires intention. And if we just, sit around and kind of hope for things to get better and hope that we improve, we won't. And quite honestly, if we stay at this stasis mode, we tend to degrade a little bit, just over time. Instead, we want to constantly, I think, to have the greatest sense of fulfilled life and that we are maximizing our potential as best as we can, then I think, we need to have this intent that we are always going to evolve and to grow, and that we need these positive actions in our life, which is, paying attention and paying attention to ourselves. It means, acceptance and self-acceptance of who we are and who we are in this moment, and approval of who we are. That's going to be a big one for a lot, and be able to have self-love. And for me, the love is one definition is the absence of boundaries or walls. And so we want to be able to love all of us. And that's a challenge, and it's a challenge for many people. But it's these acts of self-care, these acts of self-love that are crucial to unlocking our true potential. So part of it is we want to be able to identify and to eradicate those weeds that we have. So what's keeping you from your dreams? What's keeping you from living a better life? Write it down. What's keeping you from experiencing this richer dimension of living? And if you say my spouse, my coworkers, my job, then it's not really the true answer. The true answer is on the inside of you. All right, I fully will concur that those environmental events and those environmental energies can have an impact. But we are responsible. You are responsible. I am responsible for my thoughts, my thinking, and how I process things in my life. Living life is very subjective. It is how I perceive things. And if I allow my mind to be cluttered with negativity, then I will see the world and I'll see others through this veil of negativity. If I see, if I live a life of bitterness and I'm holding grudges, that's how I'm going to process how I see things. If I live a life of distrust, I'm going to, if I don't trust myself, if I'm upset with myself, that's going to color. I'm going to project that out. So there's all kinds of ways that you can find weeds in your garden, and it behooves us to take the time to discover those weeds and then get rid of them. And then you'll find what comes in its place, what springs forward, was already in you all along. I am of the opinion you are already whole, that you really need nothing. At your deepest core, you are spirit. At your deepest core, that is who we are, and that is whole, and that is abundance, and that's health, and it's a vibrant peacefulness. But we layer in our thinking, and our feelings, and our attachments to things that we think that we need that hold us back from that. And so we want to relax those attachments, right? So these when we have these negative emotions, they'll stifle our potential, and they'll prevent us actually from realizing our true selves. So to grow and to thrive, then we must work diligently to eradicate these detrimental thoughts. For me, as I mentioned, love in one sense is a state of non-separation. It involves allowing someone past our defenses and walls. It's letting them see the real us. Similarly, self-love requires us to remove the obstacles or the walls we've created within ourselves to hide parts of ourselves from our own view. We want to embrace that and see that and love all of us. We want to value yourself and ourselves enough to want to love yourself, and then to actively practice self-love. Love is an act of the will. It is the intentional recognition of the absence of separation. Right? So if I am in love with somebody, there's no separation. I feel them in my heart. I know that they carry me in theirs. That's love, and so this is a definition that worked for me. All right. So we may think that we don't hide from ourselves. I think a lot of us actually realize that we do, but I've met people who swear that they don't, but they do. But every repressed thought, every repressed fear, every sense of anxiousness we push down, everything we push down is part of ourselves that we wish to hide. And we often see ourselves not as we are, but as something far less than our potential would suggest. So this distorted kind of self-perception hinders our growth, and we should always strive to change this view. Another one is the power of forgiveness. So letting go of yesterday and forgive. This can be hard to do. Forgiving others is one thing. Forgiving yourself is another challenge altogether, but a healthy one, a needful one. All right? We must forgive those in our past whom we believe did us wrong. Not for their sake. It's not letting them off the hook, but it's letting go of the burden we have to hang on to that grudge. All right? And it's a tough one for a lot of people. We forgive those in our past because it's an act of self-love for ourselves. Best way of putting that. There's sometimes when I struggle with something in the forgiveness realm, I finally just go, well, no, maybe they didn't learn a lesson, but I need to let it go for me. Now, it doesn't mean that I won't necessarily work if the opportunity is there for still creating a better relationship, a better experience, a better environment, but I'm not not holding the grudge. I'm letting that go. Every day is a new day. The less emotional baggage that we carry, the more we're able to realize who we truly are. All right? So forgiveness, as I keep mentioning, is not about absolving others or their actions. It's about freeing ourselves from the burden of resentments. When we hold on to grudges, then we allow this negative emotion to foster and to grow, consuming valuable mental and emotional energy. We only have so many hours in a day. We only are going to live so long. Why not be happy in those times? And the older we get, the less time ahead of us than we had behind us, then it makes us value those times. We begin to want just simply more peace. But do that now. By forgiving, then we release these harmful feelings. By forgiving, we create space for positive growth and healing. Being able to forgive yourself is one of the hardest, yet it's also one of the most beneficial things that you can do. And perhaps you need to recognize that you simply did the best you could at the time with what you knew. There's a saying, and that says, do the best that you can. And when you know better, then do better. And that's true, all right? But perhaps, maybe even then you didn't do your best, but you can own up to it. And you can take responsibility. You can acknowledge it. And you can decide to do better. Then you let it go, all right? I have made, coming up through business, I was in real estate for over 30 years, and I ran teams and I taught agents. And, I would tell the agents, that, I'd made every mistake that you could make, probably at least twice. And that's how, I can teach. Now, granted, yes, it's better to learn by wisdom. Some of it's like learning by experience. But, you have to be able to come up, but you have to let go of those mistakes. You have to recognize, you look at it and go, whoops, that wasn't right. Well, and I want to see, okay, there was an error in my thinking. All right, fine. And so, when I would teach people, then and I would instruct on how to sell, how to be a consultant in the sales world rather than be trying to be a persuader, then it was if you miss it, forgive yourself, go back, learn to do better, and then do better. Forgiving yourself is one of the most important things that you can do. Even if others don't forgive you, if you find the grace and the space in your heart to forgive yourself, it is golden. And you will benefit, and the others around you will benefit, the world will benefit more by your act of self-forgiveness. All right? So, enjoy that liberating feel. Enjoy the mental and emotional sense of well-being that comes with it. So let go and quit the self-blame. That can reduce anxiety. Excuse me. Got talking a lot today. The quitting self-blame will also help alleviate depression. Additionally, when you forgive yourself, you're more likely to forgive others, which then in turn is a healthier and a more supportive relationship. Forgiving yourself allows you to see your own intrinsic self-worth and with greater clarity, and therefore build a more productive self-concept and image. So I keep mentioning self-forgiveness isn't about condoning past mistakes, yours or somebody else's, but rather it's about understanding that everyone, including yourself, is imperfect, deserving of compassion. So enact it. Now, on the heels of that, it also is take responsibility for your life. Remember, if it's to be, it's up to me. I had that printed on my computer. I had it printed on the wall behind me. For many, many years. Take responsibility for your life. Take responsibility for your thoughts. Take responsibility for your feelings and your actions. It's far easier to blame the government, to blame another person, to blame even your spouse for your problems. But while they may, have contributed to an issue, how we respond and how we react is entirely our responsibility. So taking responsibility means acknowledging that we have the power to change our circumstances. It means recognizing that our thoughts and our actions shape our reality. And by taking ownership of our lives, we empower ourselves to make positive changes, and we steer our lives in the direction that we desire. And then take definitive steps to foster self-improvement. Pay attention to yourself. Engage in self-attention. Pay close attention to your own thoughts, to your feelings, to your actions. Be mindful. Understand what drives you and what holds you back. Know yourself. All right? Be still. Know yourself. Self-acceptance. Embrace your true self. Embrace who you are. Embrace that you are a spirit who has a soul, lives in a body. Embrace yourself. Also, embrace your mind and your heart as you see it, including your strengths. Embrace your strengths. Embrace your weaknesses. Know yourself. Accept that. Accept that you are a work in progress, and the growth is a continuous journey. There's times when we would take some of these strength assessments, and I would look at it and I go, all right, I want to focus and enhance my strengths, but I also do believe in shoring up those things that are weaknesses. Now, in business, sometimes I would shore up, not character weaknesses, but weaknesses and skill sets by hiring other people to fulfill those, and it works well. In your personal life, you may or may not be able to do that, but when we're looking at character, then of course you need to take responsibility and make those changes for yourself, and that you can recognize that, yes, I may be imperfect, but I'm not going to stay that way. I'm going to continue to grow. You can validate yourself, self-approval. We often are looking for approval outside of ourselves. We don't really need that. Remember, you're whole. Spiritually, you're whole. So validate yourself and your own achievements. Recognize your worth. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Practice self-love. Nurture your mind. Nurture your body. Nurture your soul. Engage in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. And another section is you need to overcome fear and self-doubt. Fear and self-doubt can be paralyzing, but they are not insurmountable. So, and here are some strategies that you can use to kind of overcome some of that. One, face your fears. All right? It's hard. I understand we don't want to. Many times we'll run from it. There's times in my life as I was, growing and going through all these things, I would sit there and I'd go, okay, and I would have to stop and go, wait a minute, there's something I'm not facing. What is it? And I realized there's a fear I'm not facing. There was something that I didn't want to look at about myself. And I would have to sit down and get out my journal and sit and get meditation and then look at it. And I found those demons, those monsters, they weren't as bad as they seemed to have been. And I've been through some challenges in my life. And my reputation was in my youthful years was far worse than I actually was, and I knew that. But it served me at the time. But I wanted to look and see what's holding me back. What are my fears? And then what are those fears causing? A lot of the bitterness, the anger, the arrogance that we see in people actually comes from feeling very fearful inside. And if we can recognize that, if you see it within yourself, then you can also understand that somebody else is feeling the same thing, and you can give them some grace. You can also give yourself some grace, but take responsibility for it and face those fears. All right? So face the fears that hold you back. Confront them. All right? The more you face your fears, the less power they're going to have over you. Challenge negative thoughts, as I've mentioned before. Replace self-doubt with positive affirmations. And not just affirmations. Make sure that your affirmations are not speaking always to something future, because then the message you're sending out to the universe is make this something future, not now. Own those feelings, own those affirmations in the present moment now. Remind yourself also of your capabilities and your past successes. And set realistic goals. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of talking today, so it's starting to catch up on me. Break down your aspirations into achievable steps. All right, set goals, put timelines, celebrate each milestone, build confidence, momentum, and also seek support. For some of us, this is really difficult. I have always been a go-it-alone kind of guy. but nonetheless, seek support, whether it's through a supportive network of friends, whether it's through family, whether it's through mentors who believe in you, encourage your support and your growth. Then find those ways, find the support that you need to keep moving forward. So, as we get to the end of this particular discussion, as I need to take a break from talking, embrace a richer dimension of living. To experience this richer dimension of living, we have to cultivate this mindset of abundance and to cultivate this mindset of gratitude. Once again, I learned this by spending time in nature. And, I spent several years kind of hitchhiking around the country in various times and stages of homelessness. And as I then entered into adulthood, to my 20s and 30s, and I had this, scarcity mindset that because, I didn't have anything for a good number of years. And, I had to work on that a lot, especially as I got into business. The mindset, the image that we put in is so important. As I sat in nature, I began to realize nature's full of abundance. Nature's hard. It's not always fair. There's a food chain. It can be violent. It can be gruff. But it can be beautiful. And it can be peaceful. And it can be serene. But there's an abundance to nature. And I'm one with this nature. I'm part of this nature. It comes from the same consciousness as I do. So therefore, abundance must live in me. When I let go and I stopped the thoughts and I paid attention to the deepest part of me, I felt nothing but expansiveness and peace. Okay, there's gratitude, there's abundance. So focus on that. Focus on the positive aspects that are in your life and acknowledge the blessings that you have. Practice mindfulness. Be present in each moment, appreciating the beauty, appreciating the opportunities that are around you. Engage in activities that align with your passion and your values. Pursue hobbies. Volunteer. Explore new interests that may bring you joy and fulfillment. By living authentically and staying true to yourself, you will open doors to more meaningful and a more enriched life. All right. I think lastly, and I kind of touched on this before, is seek out others for assistance. Look around. Ask advice. Okay, from others who have gone through what you're going through or achieved what you want to achieve. Models are extremely valuable. I used to listen, and I still do too, but I used to listen to a lot of business tapes and inspirational things. Jim Rohn was a writer who's passed away, was enormously impactful on my life in a business sense, in a very practical business sense. When he said, the value that you bring to the marketplace, which is how that you are compensated, is based on the value that you bring, but also other things such as the ease at which you are replaced, and to the value to the marketplace. So it doesn't matter how long it took you to do something. What value did you bring to the marketplace? The marketplace will pay you for the value that you bring of helping others, providing a service, and the ease with which you can be replaced. So, if you're washing dishes, and that was one of my first, paying jobs outside of paper routes and selling magazines and seeds and things you did as a kid. And, it was, it's obviously it's a menial job. It's one of the lower end jobs that you can have. But, it was, I would find, but when I learned this from Jim Rohn, I reflected back on that, how easy that job, even though it's important. If I decided not to wash dishes, that may be important, and it would stop the restaurant. However, he could replace me just like that. So therefore, he doesn't need to pay me the same as he pays for the chef, because the chef is much more difficult to replace. It's the skills that you bring to the marketplace that make a difference, the value that you add. But models are how I digress, but models are part how you can do that, and how you can, you find the books, find people who have achieved what you wanted to achieve, and then begin to do what they did. And a little thing about models and heroes, understand they're people. Don't expect them to be perfect. They're not. And don't expect your saints to be saints, quite honestly. understand they're people with struggles, and you want to find, I am inspired by the people that I read about. I aspire to model their character traits, not to be them. All right? I don't hold them up on pedestals. I liked what they said. I valued what they said. They may have a character trait that then I want to model, and they would model for me. So do those things. Find those things that support what you want to do. All right? Seek out opinions. Seek out perspectives that are different from your own. Have respectful discourse. We can often benefit from differing points of view. If we truly see something from another person's perspective, it will often help us gain a broader understanding and insight. So, in conclusion, as we kind of look at things, personal growth and improvement are lifelong journeys that require dedication. It requires self-reflection. It requires intentional action. By weeding out negative thoughts and emotions, practicing self-love, taking responsibilities for our lives, we can unlock our true potential, and then we can live a life of fulfillment and purpose. So remember, the power to change, the power to grow just lies within you. Embrace it, nurture it, and then watch yourself flourish. Thank you. Enjoy your day, and I appreciate you taking the time.